even in the 1990s, there can still, sadly, be war. Still be times when men and women must defend themselves and their country, or defend others too weak to defend themselves. And at such times, there must be those who can lead, who've been trained to lead. In most careers, you're thrown in at the deep end, but these young men and women, and many others like them, had an intensive 24-week training course right at the start that not only prepared them for their new jobs, but also stretched them both physically and mentally. It was a course which developed their leadership skills, a course that turned them into officers, the initial officer training course at the Royal Air Force College, Cranwell.
It was a bit difficult at first, but I'd been away to university. Many people who'd never been away from home before found it much harder. But we all managed to get through the first few weeks together by helping each other, sorting out kit, ironing, bulling shoes, teaching each other things we hadn't seen before.
I swear by Almighty God.
I swear by Almighty God
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance.
That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance.
To Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
To Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Her heirs and successors.
And then there's what's called attestation. That's when you swear allegiance to the crown, defending your country. It's whenever you finally made the commitment that you're joining for a certain number of years. And it's quite a powerful oath. It makes you realise what you're doing.
Heirs and successors, footsteps hanging in, double the bow if you have to.
For the first 4 weeks, you're in the hands of the RAF regiment. The people in that are tough, very tough, just like the course itself. This basic induction module, BIM, will come perhaps as a short, sharp shock, because it's a non-stop 7-day-a-week regime that'll sometimes make you wonder why you ever thought of joining the Royal Air Force, becoming an officer in the first place.
Behind the casualty's neck and simply drag them away from the...
The whole succession of activities is designed to militarise you, strengthen you, and what these first few weeks will also do is show you, as a future officer, what level of performance you'll be expecting from the men and women who you will eventually command. You'll be learning day by day just how well people can meet the demands of a military lifestyle when they're working together. And while you're learning, while you're probably gaining a new self-confidence, you'll have some fun along the way.
Right, Mr. Fell, make sure that you stand well clear.
So it's not that bad once you get used to it, that is. The most important thing maybe is that you must come here with the right attitude. If you do that, and expect to work hard, then you'll be okay. After BIM, part 2 of the course, now you're in flights, small groups who'll stick together throughout IOT, and you're into 9 weeks of leadership training.
You have to pool your resources and get the team to work together, and they're looking at the leaders straight from the start.
To measure distances on the map then.
And then you move on to land navigation, where they have you working with a map and compass.
First of all, tell me, what is the feature?
And you work in the classroom, finding how to get yourself from one point to another, and how to measure the distance and what time it'll take you.
2871.
There may be times when you find it a bit hard to stand on your own 2 feet. After all, you are reaching for heights you maybe never thought you'd attain. But don't worry, there's always someone to turn to if need be.
Get on the apex, you can start, knock the door.
Each flight then has a flight commander, and really we're the sort of trainer, welfare person, mentor and guide. The thing is that they're here to learn not about skills, but to learn something about themselves. And I think the greatest gift that we give them is an ability to look at themselves critically at all times with a view to improving. So even if they don't know everything by the time they leave here, they can at least go away, see the mistakes they've made, and are in a position to analyse it themselves, and then go on from that to improve in whatever job they do in the Air Force.
Elementary leadership training consists of a set of exercises, building bridges from pine poles and ropes, for example. Exercises that'll teach you never to say, sorry, haven't a clue. You might not know the answer, you might not have come across problems like these before, and you'll never have to do this kind of thing later. But you won't give up, and the RAF will expect you to come up with an answer through improvisation, using your initiative, and leading all the time.
All right, guys, come on, we've got 3 minutes left.
It's just really to assess how you react in a variety of different situations. They try and put you under pressure, both physically and mentally, and just to see if you can cope and increase your flexibility to be able to survive in all these situations.
2:40 an hour. I want to, yeah.
The restriction was 4 in 1 minute, so it's 1 in 15 seconds.
So that's 2.5 minutes to get the whole team. So if I get my clock sorted, you can get them all over in 2.5 minutes, can't you?
Easiest way, going across on one rope, it looks like. Right, ready, go.
It's teamwork, with you leading the team, sure that your colleagues are doing their jobs, sure that you're capable of doing yours. It's helping others out when they need you, in the knowledge that they do the same for you.
That's it, come on, one last.
And in the debrief afterwards, you'll learn what you did right or wrong and how you can improve in the future.
When it actually came to planning it, I should have had a bit more thought beforehand. I didn't spend as long as I had available for thinking about an effective plan. Having said that, we did manage to get everyone across.
OK, so what could she actually have used in the briefing to have aided her? Bassin?
First of all, I think she could have prepared in her own mind what she was going to say a little bit better, and also maybe used something like a sketch so that it was easy to understand.
Of course, there are times when you can relax, maybe play cricket in front of College Hall. Time to clean kit, take stock, prepare for lectures. Time to be with friends in the mess. Maybe play a game of snooker. Or if you're too tired, you can always watch it on TV. Whatever, very soon it'll be time for somewhat more strenuous activity. The climax of intermediate leadership training, an 8-day camp at a military training area. This one's on the Northumbrian moors. You'll be working around the clock here in all kinds of weather, and some nights you'll probably get no sleep at all.
You get to your point, you've got your team, there'll be a leader in the team, an observer, unless you've got a lot of people off with injuries, and then it's up to that flight to do as their leader requests them. What it's doing is testing you when you're at your worst, when you haven't slept very well, when you're physically exhausted, and yet you've got your team to motivate. You've got it's obviously harder to make your team work harder if everyone's tired. So it's at its most challenging then.
You push people to the limits, you find out what they're really made of, and people's real true characters actually come out when they're working that hard, and it's people get a lot of satisfaction after doing it. Maybe not while they're hurting going up those hills, but afterwards people are quite pleased that they've actually carried out that mission. You know that everyone's going through the same pain as you are doing, so you all just push out and give 100% or 110% is what's expected here.
After all of this, it's back to Cranwell, and during the next phase of your training, one of the highlights should be the mid-course party.
Compare it with what you're going to see this afternoon.
Towards the end of the course, in weeks 17 to 21, you'll be getting a feel of what the RAF is really like. One of those weeks will be spent at the Royal Air Force College Air Squadron, for example. You'll take part in the early morning briefings. Then you'll be kitted out, ready for your first flight in an RAF Bulldog trainer aircraft. And that really is exciting. far cry from the flat terrain of Lincolnshire, Granton-on-Spey in the Highlands of Scotland. You'll spend a week here on adventure training, activities like whitewater canoeing, mountain biking, abseiling and rock climbing. In fact, this is all part of the RAF's training strategy, because you may be enjoying them so much that you don't realise they're all part of developing your capabilities.
Either way, whichever you feel comfortable with.
In contrast, the office simulator.
For a week, you pretend that you're in an office on an actual RAF station, and you learn to interview people from your interview lessons where you've been taught the techniques, and throughout the course you learn how to cope with problems, telephone calls and your telephone manner, and in general what's going to be expected of you when you're a junior officer and you first go to an RAF station.
To see him in the interview room at 14:30, please.
Another taste of the living, breathing, working RAF comes with your station visit. This is Coningsby, home to 3 Tornado squadrons. And here not only will you get a chance to sit in a few £1 million worth of fighting machine, but you'll also see how relationships work on one of Britain's busiest Air Force bases.
Initially, to actually go and fly a low-level mission over to Wales. After they've been briefed, they've gone and...
The experiences you get from a visit like this are invaluable, because you can't be taught such things in a classroom. You have to experience them. And after all, soon you could be part of them.
You will remember, those of you who are awake, during my
Week 21 and into the applied phase of IoT, which includes defence studies, for example.
We tend to do quite a lot of lectures, obviously many with a defence-related theme. Large percentage is defence studies as a whole, which covers naval, army and air force, both history, rank structures, that sort of thing.
Arab, who, if you remember,
Week 22, not long now to graduation. This is exercise Peacekeeper, 5 days of living under canvas, the climax of your leadership training. It's a single sustained military exercise, operating an RAF base and guarding it against incoming enemy troops, aircraft attack, peace demonstrators, anything really. You'll be assessed performing roles from guard commander to base commander, from supply officer to flying squadron commander. You are being tested throughout the days and nights. Are you tough enough, determined enough, resourceful enough? Peacekeeper is hard, and there'll be times when you'll long for a nice 9-to-5 routine in a nice warm office. Or how about a pleasant evening in front of the telly with your feet up? No chance. And anyway, you wouldn't really want that, would you? Mind you, a sense of humour doesn't go amiss. That'll help you through. And in the end, this is the chance to prove to yourself and to the flight commanders that you have learned to make decisions and make them work. That you've learned to be one of a team, to be the one who leads the team, the one the team can count on. In short, that you've learned to think and move as an RAF officer.
Intruders have broken onto base. Repeat.
And all of this could, as they say, be the making of you. Because after all, there could be a time when it would all be for real.
Be careful. Okay, so put it on the ground. Put it on the ground.
Dining in night just before graduation. The culmination of initial officer training. Very soon now, these young men and women will be out on the parade ground receiving the Queen's Commission. And they'll feel prouder then than they've ever felt before. They couldn't, now that they've graduated with flying colours, step away from responsibility even if they wanted to. It's part of their success, and it could be part of yours.
You see through the bad bits, make the most of the good bits, and it evens out in the end.
Life in the Air Force is brilliant anyway, but this, to become an officer, to go through IOT, it's the cream on the cake.
It was very hard work, but at the end of the day, I think everyone came out smiling. It was well worth it. Great sense of achievement, I think.
You've got to be confident, but then having said that, they help build your confidence. If there's a basis there, they'll build on it. And you've got to enjoy the challenge and be able to work well with other people. Working within the flight is the most important thing you could do through IOT.
And if you want an easy career that's just going to be boring day to day, you know, straightforward, a set routine, and don't join the Air Force. But if you want something that's going to be a challenge and is going to push you to your limits, which is why I joined, then do it. Marching up those steps after the parade's over, it's hard to fight back the tears. You really feel that you've achieved something.